After this week, is Matt LaFluer getting fired? What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Gridiron podcast. As always, it's Nick and Mike. We're back at it with another episode talking about the NFC North. Now, we're going to get into some interesting things in the NFC North. Obviously, the seeding is now changing. We'll get into that later. But let's start off with the Vikings against the Ravens, with the Ravens on a little bit of a winning streak, and they take the win 27-19.
Yeah, I mean the Ravens are in a win like now situation. They really cannot lose, a lot of games left because they are now 4-5. But this was a big game for them, but also was a big game for the Vikings at home. I thought after last week, maybe we see the Vikings, start to go on a hot streak or JJ, starts to play better. Not really did JJ play poorly, but I just think the Ravens they played better. And the Vikings defense surprisingly couldn't really stop the passing game. The Vikings, however, I mean, I was very surprised by that. I don't know about you, but I was very surprised by that.
Yeah, I mean, going into a little bit of some stats, I mean, JJ McCarthy did throw two interceptions. So if they cut down the turnover margin, they will start piling these wins together. But a lot of these games that they've been falling, they've been losing the turnover margin.
Yeah, it seems like they couldn't execute because actually they were up at halftime 10-9 and after that could barely score besides the garbage time touchdown. But an interesting controversy, I'm not sure if you saw this, Nick, or not, but the Vikings were calling out the Ravens for so-called cheating, eight pre-snap penalties. I don't know if that's a coincidence or if that's a little suspect to investigation there. I want to hear your opinion on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely interesting, but I wouldn't consider it as cheating. But I would say there's definitely some question marks going into that with the pre snap penalties. But in terms of cheating, I mean, cheating is a strong word in football for sure. I mean, we've seen situations where teams try to get the edge against teams. There's just scouting and just looking at what happened in this game. I wouldn't consider it as cheating.
Now, apparently the defensive linemen were calling hut at like JJ's snap, so the offensive line thought that the ball was being snapped, so that's where the penalties came in. I don't know if that's really cheating. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but it certainly isn't fair.
Wouldn't consider it as cheating.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely isn't fair playing essentially their snap count. It's the same thing if like someone points a laser in someone's eyes. I mean, you can't really say it's cheating.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what
But
the standard or bar would be for a penalty like that if that were to be the case.
it's like you can't really tell really who's saying it. So they unless they want to find the entire defense. Like
Yeah,
I don't know how they managed to do that.
I'm not sure, but I mean, nonetheless, though, the Vikings did do a good job of shutting down the run game as Henry didn't really run all over them. But
Mhm.
yeah, I just think JJ McCarthy's still some growing pains. I just think, the other crazy thing too was how Justin Jefferson, 12 targets, I think three receptions for 30 something yards.
Yep.
I mean, that's almost unacceptable.
There was also that play. I wanted to kind of pick your brain about this because there's a lot of questions now whether or not Justin Jefferson is in it for the long run. Now, we saw the interception that was thrown by JJ McCarthy, and Justin Jefferson was just walking and not even really caring, not going for the tackle. But I've seen this story a lot of times with Justin Jefferson. We saw it with Sam Darnold. We saw it with Nick Mullins. Now we're seeing it with JJ McCarthy. Are we ready to call Justin Jefferson a diva?
No, I think that one play, it's really kind of stupid in my opinion because Justin Jefferson is a, you know, what is he getting paid a year? $40 million
Something around
around
there.
that. I don't exactly know the contract on the top of my head. I know it's top three. I would say it's smart enough for him not to go in for that tackle because God forbid if something happens where he injures himself, it'd be like Amon Ra going in for a tackle. Would you want Amon Ra, trying to deliver a big hit on a DB? Probably not. So there has to be some
He'll make the
there
hit.
has to be some, in game football intelligence there of not going in for the hit there. Now, I will say yeah, the effort I guess could have been a little bit better, but what is he gonna do? He's not gonna try and go in and tackle the defender. Yes, I know you don't want the defender to run it back, but I mean you got to be careful if you're a $40 million per year receiver. You can't get injured. So, but also on the flip side, I know you're talking about Justin Jefferson's attitude. I mean, you want to win. You're one of the best in the league. You obviously want the yards. You want the season to prove it. You're in the conversation. It's pretty difficult when you do obviously have a rookie quarterback who is going to have growing pains and he's going to overthrow you or underthrow you, miss it when you're open. It is frustrating. So I can't really sit here and say that he's a diva for that, but I will say there's a way of going about it, and maybe he does have to handle himself in a better manner.
Yeah, I agree because we've seen this with multiple receivers over. I mean, our entire time watching football. I mean, looking at people like Antonio Brown, Juju,
Now,
a bunch of players that are just being like, "I'm not getting the targets." Now it's turning into him looking selfish. Now you look at players like Amon Ra. I mean, there's that clip that came out like 2 years ago where he was like, I've never had two catches in my career since I was a rookie. But you look at the Lions compared to this, and the Lions are considered as a selfless team where they're blocking their butts off on run plays. They're not really caring who gets the ball because they have a star studded offense at pretty much every position. But then you look at the Vikings. I mean, it's not like they're any slouches either. I mean, they have Addison, they have Naylor, and they have Justin Jefferson. But we're seeing this kind of selfish attitude from Justin Jefferson that we've seen in the past as well. It's not like it's just this year.
yeah, I was just gonna say a while ago that you bring up divas in the league. I was gonna say AJ Brown, great example of that, where potential trade request, even
Mm-hmm.
though his team is one of the best, if not the best, in football. So talk about selfish.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I was gonna also bring up another point from the game that the Vikings just have always had this problem of running the football. I don't know what it is, but they cannot run the football this game. JJ McCarthy is your top rusher. That's not good. Aaron Jones, great back. He's getting older though, but you need other guys to step up in the backfield or this offensive line who they did sign some big free agents in the offseason to come in here and, build up that offensive line. So Vikings are in by no means in a rebuild, season. They're trying to win, but it's all in the hands of JJ McCarthy, who's unfortunately not able to translate this year so far.
Yeah, I mean, it also could be the fact that he was injured. Now, for you audio listeners, I just did air quotes because we mentioned a couple episodes ago before JJ McCarthy came back whether or not this injury was real. And he went up against another player that we were questioning his injury in Lamar Jackson. And Lamar Jackson, I mean, he threw for 176 yards, but you don't really need Lamar Jackson to be passing the ball that much when he's that dual threat quarterback.
Yeah. I think the next game that we can talk about, which is very exciting here, is the Chicago Bears and New York Giants because the Giants almost came away with this one. And last week we talked about the Bengals and how the Bears would usually lose that last year. This was another game proven by the Bears that they have resiliency despite Caleb Williams not playing the best and also their offense as a whole. They came back in this game to sneak away with a 24-20 win over the New York Giants.
I just saw this news that, I mean, this is out of topic for the NFC North, but involves the Giants. They are expected to start Jameis Winston this upcoming week. Now, going into this game, the Giants have been on the bad end of a bunch of fourth quarter comebacks, and this was no different. Now, you mentioned the resiliency from the Bears, and it's showing because last year they would 100% have lost this game, especially if Matty Reflus had the option to call a timeout. Throwback to Thanksgiving last year. But I mean, this is showing to be a strong offense, and their defense is still, but they're still coming up with some good stops. I mean, Jackson Dart still threw for 242. Now, I want to ask you this because we mentioned the Bears' run game last week with Monangai. This time it's DeAndre Swift. I mean, he does get 80 yards, which isn't anything too special, but where do we see this Bears run game going for the rest of the season now going into week 10?
I mean, I think at this rate they're going to stick with Monangai and Swift. I think that despite the inconsistencies of Swift or not having Monangai in the game as often, I think that the Bears, I mean, they got many options. It's not like they need to run the football necessarily. They do have two tight ends who are great. They do have receivers who are great. So they don't have to rely on the run game the way people think, but the run game is a big part for them because this team isn't always efficient with executing, screen passes or little check downs, or these little small, medium passing plays. So I think Monangai will play a bigger role in this offense coming up. I do think that maybe we do see Monangai over Swift later in the season.
I can agree with that. And I mean, as a Lions fan, I hate to see the Bears winning like this. Obviously, with Ben Johnson being the head coach, they are 6-3 now. And I'm sure you being a Packers fan, you hate to see the Bears win, knowing that rivalry. But I want to talk about one other thing with the Bears, and this is actually pretty interesting. Now, looking at the playoff seeding, right? There is potential that we do see three NFC North teams in the playoffs. Now, I know this is kind of predicting a little bit, but it's looking like if the season were to end today, it would be Bears versus Lions at Ford Field for the first round of the playoffs. Let me ask you this. With that prediction, who do you think comes out on top if the season were to end today?
I mean, I think it'd be the Lions. I mean, no question about
Okay.
it. That's luckily the season doesn't end today, but that's a little pity. But yeah, definitely if the season did end today, three teams in the NFC North are getting in. So maybe we have three teams going to be in the playoffs again this year from the NFC North, which is actually super exciting because I think each team has a case to potentially win one game, if not make it very competitive.
Yeah, and even the NFC West is another one of those divisions that, I mean, you can potentially have three teams in the playoffs as well. But enough of the Bears. I'm sick and tired of talking about the Bears today. But let's talk about the comeback kids. Have not lost back to back games since October of 2022. The only team that even comes close, the Detroit Lions. Now, this was a playoff rematch where the Lions fell to the Washington Commanders last year in the divisional round, obviously at Ford Field and obviously with Jaden Daniels. This game was in Washington without Jaden Daniels. They had Marcus Mariota, but the Lions came out swinging. They win 44-22. Now, This is very interesting because we see Dan Campbell doing the play calls. And all of a sudden, this offense looks like it should with the explosive players that you have. You get Jamison Williams involved with him scoring a touchdown and even on one drive getting 60 yards in receiving. Now, obviously, for you being on the outside looking in as a Packers fan, and we'll get to your game as it's a little bit of similarities that we'll talk about. But do you think it's a good idea that Dan Campbell continues doing the play calling? Obviously, he had to wear glasses and had to have the play sheet giant for him to be able to see it.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Commanders' defense is in trouble right now as they have a ton of injuries. They have Marshawn Lattimore, Trey Amos was out. Obviously on the offensive side, Terry McLaurin, Jaden Daniels, obviously a huge part. Now, the game against the Lions, I think, was honestly they had no chance of winning this game just because of those injuries. I think or not Dan Campbell, Dan Quinn can do a better job of calling a calling on both sides for the defense and offense because of his job back in Dallas. I do think he was a decent coordinator, and I think that he can definitely have a better handle for this team. He's a winning coach. I do like him personally.
Yeah, and obviously there's some controversy that came out of that game. Two things actually involving Amon-Ra St. Brown. Obviously, I don't know his first name, but Payne for Washington. Yeah, he was ejected from the game due to punching Amon-Ra St. Brown. But it did come out that Amon-Ra St. Brown did hit Payne prior to the play. Now, obviously, me and you talked off camera that no player should be punching anybody no matter what, right? But I mean, the play before, they were talking smack about Jared Goff, and all of a sudden, Jared Goff just throws a touchdown. So the time that he punches Amon-Ra St. Brown, it came out that Amon-Ra St. Brown just went up to him and said scoreboard, and he got punched.
No ifs, buts, shoulda, woulda,
So
couldas, no punches should be allowed. Obviously, he got ejected. Well, Payne got ejected for it, but yeah, what's Amon Ra doing? I mean, what is he doing? Who cares if you're winning big? I mean, you can talk trash, don't get me wrong, that's totally fine.
yeah,
But why is he throwing a punch? Luckily, didn't get caught. What are you doing? You know, I don't get that. So, no punches should be thrown. That's
yeah.
unacceptable by both teams. Accountability should definitely be there, and I hope Dan Campbell does something about it.
And on top of that, the next controversy, obviously, President Donald Trump was in the audience, and Amon-Ra St. Brown did the Trump dance.
See that?
Now, there has been a lot of issues with that. Now, it's been widely known that Amon-Ra St. Brown has been a supporter of Trump as well as his family. Now, he did come out and apologize for it. I don't think he really should have because you're just having fun, right? You're just doing a touchdown celebration. You just scored a touchdown. Like, you're doing whatever you think is fit as a celebration. But I mean, Jared Goff has one of his best games of the season, throwing for 320 yards, three touchdowns. Jahmyr Gibbs ran for 142 yards with two touchdowns, including a receiving touchdown. And then Jamison Williams with 119 and a touchdown. I think this was one of the best all around games for the Lions. Now, it's going to be a real test whether or not they can continue it coming up against the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, speaking of the Philadelphia Eagles, let's get into the Philadelphia Eagles beating the Green Bay Packers. Now, here's an even better stat for you because we talked about it last week. The Packers are now 12 points away from being 9-0.
Yeah, I'm glad that I've had a couple days to digest this because I was livid on Monday night. I'm just gonna say it, I was pretty pissed off, like angry. Never have been that angry in my life, I'm not gonna lie. Now that I've had some time to digest this and look at everything over, come up with my own conclusions, I'm actually surprised that the Green Bay media is actually coming at Matt LaFleur asking about his job because I know people are angry and frustrated with Matt LaFleur, and they actually, on Twitter were calling for him to be fired. I did not think post game they would ask him about if he's coaching for his job this season. I was very surprised by that. Now, I think it'd be really dumb if Green Bay were to fire Matt LaFleur by the end of the season. The guy is record, he's double positive. We've been to the playoffs every single season except one under his era, and he has 3 playoff wins. Yes, he's got 5 losses, but it's still 3 playoff games. This team is very talented. There's a lot of potential. And the other thing, too, that I was surprised about was Jordan Love at the post game conference was asked if this game plan was Matt LaFleur's, his, or both. And he said that it's both, and the players did not execute. Now, you texted me, players got to execute, and I immediately went to players can't execute a broken play call. I did not think Jordan Love was on the bandwagon with this because the ball is literally being taken out of his hands all game. Now I see you giving me some like crazy looks, so I'm gonna hear your thoughts on what I just said.
Yeah, so before I get into it, I gotta grab something real quick. Now, you remember this. Let me grab it real quick. Give me 1 second and let me grab this. Because we're gonna have fun with this.
He is grabbing something I am not sure of. If I think it is what it is,
So you say it's just not Matt LaFleur now?
no. Yeah, it's the Green Bay sucks sweatshirt.
So you and I have been talking past couple episodes about the play calling. Now, when the Packers lose back to back games, breaking your apparent 2018 streak, which was non existent, you want to say it's not Matt LaFleur.
That's not what I said.
And you want to say that,
It's not. It's
okay,
not.
but you're saying it shouldn't be calling for his job.
No, I think that'd be idiotic. There's nobody better. Matt LaFleur is a top 10, top 15 coach in the NFL. Disagree with that. All right? Give me a list right now. Wait, no, no,
We
no, no,
were
no. Give me
last
no.
last
Give me
last week we were just talking about him potentially getting
no.
fired.
Last week we said there should be There should be calls about, or there should be a talk about his play calling duty, not getting fired. Right now, give me a list. I'm actually very interested.
Okay, but
I'm very
you
interested.
notice something. You notice something. You look at Dan Campbell. He's like, "Hey, let's change something up. I'm going to make the play calls now."
LaFleur and Dan Campbell the
It
same
has to
person?
be it ha-
No.
no, but you have to realize something, that a head coach has to make that decision to either give up play calling or take play calling to help the team win. And right now, Matt LaFleur is not helping the team win.
Correct. He is right now calling plays for a team that he does not have. He is calling plays for a team that he wants. I agree with you. I fully agree with you. But there's nobody better right now in a head coaching position. If there is, then list 3 guys right now who are potentially better.
Nick Sirianni.
Okay, no, Nick Sirianni is not available. Like, who are available head coaching candidates that right now are better than LaFleur? Nobody.
Brian Dable.
Yeah, exactly. No, it'd be idiotic if the Packers were to
So
fire LaFleur.
I mean,
Jordan Love said that this is he's in on this game plan and they need to execute. Now, there are a lot of problems with that because the offensive line isn't the offensive line Matt LaFleur thinks. They aren't this run heavy, able to push down the field offensive line. I agree with you. The play calling is egregious. I don't disagree with that. But you can't fire him. That's the problem. This team is 5-1. It's very difficult to win every single game. There will be stinkers. There will be teams that are better. Whatever. Yes, it's a bad loss. You can make a case for all these losses the Packers could win. It is what it is at the end of the day. I'm going to throw you some stats here because I think they're actually crazy.
Okay, but before you get to that,
Okay.
Matt LaFleur has the option to figure out who he wants to kick field goals, right?
Yes.
Okay, so why is McManus still kicking field
That's a
goals
great question.
if he can't make
That's a
them?
great question for LaFleur, man. I'm with you. Why is
And then on top of that, who would you have on the Packers staff currently call play calls?
I would
Who on the Packers
I would have
staff?
LaFleur. I'm not kidding. I mean, yes, it's egregious right now, but I honestly do think
So you'd rather have you guys lose by 3 points every 2 games at this point than have someone else on your Packers staff who has probably been training to play call. So then Matt LaFleur can focus on other things like actually being a head coach
I'd honestly rather have Jordan Love take
than
over the play calling if that were a. I'd rather have Jordan Love take over play calling if that was an option. Honestly, I think Love can take over the offense just like Aaron Rodgers did. To be honest,
okay. Yeah, because I know that the Lions are trying to work towards Jared Goff being the sole play caller. So I mean, I can agree with that, but I mean, like you said, I mean, the play calling has to change. And then you flip it around and be like, I'd much rather have Matt LaFleur over like any other Packers staff coach, right? Obviously, Jordan Love is an option, right? Or, I mean, I would even throw it to like maybe like your wide receivers coach. Like, I was even mentioning off camera to you that if Dan Campbell was not making the play calls, I would like Scotty Montgomery to make the play calls. He was the running backs coach last year. He's the wide receivers coach this year, and he's the offensive assistant. So I'd much rather have like someone other than Johnny Morton making the play calls. And if Johnny Morton would actually be on the field rather than in the booth, I'd like that. But I want to hear the stats that you're talking about because this is all under Matt LaFleur, right? It's not going back
no, no,
to
this is from the Eagles
like a
game.
Mike
No, no,
McCarthy
yeah, this is from
days.
the Eagles game, which is crazy.
Okay.
So out of the 8 drives, which were before the end game sequence, 7 out of 8
Okay.
first down runs. First down runs. Probably got all right. Packers are one of 5 offenses to be under 1 yard before contact on their early down runs. So literally, the Packers are getting 1 or 2 yards mostly on their first down runs. Also, I saw a stat too, which is crazy, which I did not know this. Second and 8 plus. So 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10, 2nd and 10. Packers have a 75% chance to run the football. That is crazy. Crazy.
Yeah, that is really crazy actually.
And talking about the game though, the end game sequence was horrible. We'll get to that in a second, but the run game obviously did not work. Matt LaFleur in the first half took the ball out of Jordan Love's hand for no reason, and when it went to play action, it worked. It worked, which was crazy. Wide receivers, though, Jesus, catch the football. Romeo Dobbs had a critical loss. Bo Melton, for some reasons, out there running reps. I don't understand that at all. He dropped a critical fourth down pass. Dontavian Wicks, right through his hands, catch the football. These Packers receivers, I don't know, in big spots, when coverage is actually good, they're not as wide open. They can't make those tough catches, and that's a problem. Because Love did throw some great balls, and they just were not able to be caught
Mhm.
for big plays. On that endgame sequence, it was horrible. I don't know what that was. We had 2 timeouts going down the field, 4th and 1. No timeout was called. It was a shotgun halfback draw. And the Eagles' defense line, as you saw the video, called out the play. That's how predictable
Yeah.
the Packers' offense is. And the offensive line, by the way, got mollywopped into Josh Jacobs' face. Like they had no chance. It's becoming too predictable. It's very problematic, and it's a shame. It really is a shame that the Packers are 5-3-1, as you said, are 12 points. 12 points, you said.
12 points from being 10 and
Yeah,
0.
I mean, it's bizarre when you think about it, really, because you look at the Packers schedule, you wouldn't think that they would lose to the Browns and Panthers, and well, I think people would say they lose to the Eagles, but not the Browns and Panthers at least.
And tie the Cowboys.
But with all of that being said, the reason why this team is still competitive and still, in my opinion, considered a top tier team until the offense really gets figured out, then we can really talk about, this whole narrative, by the way, of Packers are Super Bowl contenders, I think is faded. Thank God. I never thought that. I mean, well,
I was going to say, if you thought that they were Super Bowl contenders with the way that they're playing, you are
no, I think
delusional.
that there's definitely potential if they, turn things around offensively. But listen, the defense shut down Saquon, held the Eagles to 0 points in the first half, 10 points total. They lost all these games by 3. It's not like they're getting blown out. That's an upside for me. I mean, I don't know what else you could really ask for because all the years the Packers had terrible defenses. Finally, we have a good defense, and they continue to play well, especially in these big games with a high-powered offense like the Eagles. So that's one positive
Now,
takeaway.
let me ask you this. So you mentioned the defense, right? I was going to bring this up. I don't know if you've heard the controversy that's going on, but Micah Parsons reportedly tripping Saquon Barkley intentionally.
Yeah, I saw that play.
I want to hear your thoughts on it because I mean it does look like a trip. He kind of sticks his leg out like to trip him. It could be that he was just going for the ball and he just stepped forward. Could be anything, but it definitely kind of looks like a trip. And even the announcers were like, it looks like he intentionally tripped him. So I want to hear your thoughts on it with your star-studded defensive end in Micah Parsons.
It's a football play, man. If it doesn't get called, it doesn't get called. I don't know what else there is to talk about, to be honest. Football, I mean, there's a lot of plays where things don't get called, but that's a part of the game. So, I mean, it is
I,
fully,
I, I think because of that, I'm going to have to report you to New
it
York.
is,
New York is going to have to throw a flag on
it
that play.
is fully. I just made me lose my train of thought. But I was gonna say that it's on the refs to make the calls, and I did see the play, and it was totally tripping in my opinion, but they didn't call it, and it is what it is. So, I mean,
Now, let's play a little game of like scenario wise, right? So Packers versus Lions on Thanksgiving. Now,
I was gonna say we gotta get to the Giants first next week.
yeah, who do you think right now, not being biased, who do you think comes out of
You
that
just
game?
really want the ego today. You just really want the Lions. You just want me to toot the Lions' horn, man. Like obviously the Lions,
I'm just
man.
asking a simple
Like obviously
question.
the Lions right now. Like you really just want me to toot the freaking
Okay.
Lions horn today. Oh my goodness.
But yeah, let's get into next week's game. And you already mentioned it. The Packers take on the New York Giants,
Now,
starting Jameis
I was
Winston.
gonna say, I know they're starting Jameis Winston. This is actually not like just a they're starting Jameis Winston. Packers should win by 50. This is kind of concerning because almost every single backup quarterback, the Packers play this high shell zone defense where they give everything underneath. So it is possible Winston throws for 300 yards. I'm not going to be surprised, honestly. Nah, I'm just joking. I think the Packers win this comfortably 27-13.
You know what? I'm going to have to go with Jameis Winston throws for 776 yards and 7 touchdowns. And he gets a first ballot Hall of Fame bid right after that game. I'm going to predict that Josh Jacobs gets negative 17 yards due to Matt LaFleur's horrible play calling. And no, I'm just playing. I mean, the Giants, another team that has a lot of injuries, Malik Neighbors, Cam Scattaboo, and now potentially Jackson Dart being out for a while. Who really knows? But I mean, I got the Packers winning. Let's go
So
35-14.
generous of you. It's all because I tooted the Lions' horn.
You're welcome,
Yeah.
bro. You're
Next
welcome.
up, we got our division rivals, the Bears and Vikings, squaring off in Minnesota. I think this is a very interesting game because the Week 1 Vikings beat the Bears. Can they
Yeah, and that was the Bears that went 0-2.
can they do it again? Can JJ come back and beat his hometown team again? Maybe he turns up again. I got the Vikings here. You know what? I'm going to say the Vikings here. I'm going to say 27-23 Vikings. Another close game. I think JJ does it again. It'll be kind of really funny if he does it again.
I'm gonna say I'm looking into the future right now.
Crystal ball.
Okay, it's gonna it's gonna come down to the fourth quarter again.
Oh,
Now JJ McCarthy going into the fourth quarter, 148 passing yards.
not good.
He throws for another 72, and they win with a score of 27-24.
Ooh, he won up to me. A little Josh Naylor, what, 200 yards?
Josh Naylor
He's
180.
actually coming about. Last guy made a good week. But
Yeah,
nonetheless, we'll get to your Lions here against the Philadelphia Eagles. This match is going to be a banger, Nick. I'm super excited in Philadelphia, in the cold, outside. Hopefully there's snow. It'll really put the cherry on top. This is going to be a banger of a game. I actually don't know who's going to win. I want to say the Lions. I got to say the Eagles have to play better than what they did last week. I got the Eagles at home. Tough environment for the Lions. I'm going to say it's a close game in 28-23 Eagles with a late touchdown.
you know, we were mentioning a little something prior to the season. Now, I have a vivid childhood memory of a Lions versus Eagles game that happened in Philadelphia. Obviously, that was the era of the Golden Tate, the Megatron, and the Matthew Stafford. But hopefully, there's snow because I don't know if you know this, but there's a narrative that Jared Goff can't play in the weather. And he's proven that every
Yep.
time that he can play in the weather. Obviously, beating the Packers pretty favorably last year in Green Bay, and even beating Chicago a couple times as well. But you mentioned it, the Eagles have to play better if they even want to have a shot against the Lions. Now, there is talks about Malcolm Rodriguez coming back this week, and that is huge for the Lions defense, and potentially Kirby Joseph coming back as well. I think with those guys coming back, the Lions have it. I'm going to give them the win 28-24.
Fair enough. These matches, all important. We'll see how each team does next week. I'm super excited to come back next week, Nick, and hopefully come back and talk about a pair of wins, or at least one of our teams winning, which hopefully is mine.
We'll see about that. But yeah, as always, it's been a blast. And we're just getting started with this NFL content. Now, obviously, the season's going by pretty quickly. And in the next 2 weeks, we will have a guest on to settle some beef with you. But thank you guys for tuning in. As always, you guys could follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, YouTube, Twitter, you name it. We're there. We're blasting. We're having fun. And yeah, go Lions. And Green Bay sucks. We'll see you guys next time.